When you think of Tesla, what pops into your head? Sleek electric cars, right? Maybe the Cybertruck or even those humanoid robots. But what if I told you their most important product, their real breakthrough, isn't something you can buy or drive or even see? We're going to dive into the invisible tech that's actually running the entire company. This quote from Elon Musk, this is the key. It unlocks everything. It's not just some motivational poster slogan. It's the core principle that lets Tesla operate at a speed that just baffles the rest of the auto industry. It means data makes the decisions, not committees. And that, right there, is the secret to their speed.
So that brings us to the big question for today. If it's not the cars, not the batteries, not the charging network, what is Tesla's most valuable asset? Well, the answer is something that almost nobody on the outside ever talks about, but it's the real engine behind their incredible pace of innovation. Get this. It's an internal, custom-built AI system that connects the entire physical operation of the company. We're talking factories, robots, and the cars themselves. The source we're digging into calls it Tesla One and describes it as alien-grade technology. Now, that's a pretty wild claim. So to see if it holds up, we're going to break this alien tech down into its three core layers. Okay, first up, you have to build the foundation, right? Before you can have a brain, you've got to have a nervous system. And for Tesla, that nervous system is a piece of software that connects every single part of the company in real time. It creates what Musk himself called a seamless vertical integration with a closed feedback loop. And this slide just shows you the night and day difference. On one side, you have the legacy car companies. They're stuck with these clunky, separate systems from vendors like SAP. They don't talk to each other, and making one tiny change can take months. Tesla just said no to all that and built their own system from scratch called Warp. Think of it this way. The old guys are sending letters by snail mail between departments. Tesla has a company-wide group chat where everyone and everything sees the message instantly. And the timeline for building this thing is it's insane. When someone told Elon he needed a system like SAP and that it would take years to set up, he just said no. He gave a tiny team of 25 engineers the job of building a custom one. Just 3 months later, 3 months, the first version was live and running the entire company. That's not just fast. It's a completely different philosophy on how to get things done. So once you have that nervous system in place, you can build something even more radical on top of it. A company that has a perfect digital memory of everything it does, and one that doesn't really need traditional middle managers. They do this with something called a digital twin. It starts out as just a blueprint, the as-designed model. But then, as the actual car is being built, that digital twin gets updated with every single tiny detail, like which batch a specific part came from, or the exact torque a robot used on a bolt. And finally, once the car is out on the road, it becomes as deployed, constantly sending back real-world data. It's basically a living, breathing biography of every single vehicle. Having this perfect memory for every car allows for the next radical step, digital self-management, or DSM. This is where Tesla basically automates the core jobs of a manager. So instead of a person telling you what to focus on or how you're doing, the system itself does it, instantly and without any bias. And here's how it works on the factory floor. You want feedback? A simple green or red light at your workstation tells you instantly if a part is good. You need to know what the priorities are. There are these giant screens called justice boards that show the most critical problems across the company, all ranked by impact. So if a board shows a tiny 0.2% increase in some bolt failing a torque test, any engineer who's free can see that, get a group together, and just mob the problem until the data on the screen turns green. No meetings, no permission slips, just data-driven action. So we have the nervous system, that's Warp. And we have the manager-free operating model, that's DSM. But what ties it all together? What's the brain? Well, that's the intelligence layer that sits on top of all that beautiful data, acting like an all-knowing master engineer. The source calls this the Yoda AI. You've probably heard of the 10,000-hour rule, right? The idea that it takes about 10,000 hours of focused practice to become a true master at something. That's about 5 years of working full-time. Well, forget 10,000 hours. Tesla's AI hasn't just seen 10,000 hours. It's been trained on the equivalent of millions of engineer hours, observing every design, every manufacturing step, every success, and every failure since the company's early days. It has an accumulated wisdom that no single human could ever achieve. And that's where the Yoda comparison comes from. And it's so important to understand. This AI is nothing like ChatGPT. You know, consumer AIs are trained on the messy, often wrong, public internet. They're great at knowing what things are, but Tesla's AI is trained on perfect, proprietary, structured data from its own physical operations. It knows how things are made. It doesn't just spit out text, it gives you actionable steps to improve a real-world physical product. This quote from Agile expert Joe Justice just nails it. The AI isn't just designing a part in isolation, it's designing the entire process to make that part. It understands the whole chain of events, from a 3D model on a computer to a robot-specific movement to how that final car performs out on the road. Okay, so let's put all the pieces together now. Let's see why these three layers combine to create what the source calls an unbeatable competitive advantage. So let's recap. You have the warp system, the nervous system connecting everything. That makes digital self-management possible, creating that perfect memory and allowing for instant managerless action. And then sitting right on top of it all is the Yoda AI, the brain, that learns from all of it to get smarter every single second. And this brings us to the core thesis, the big idea. Tesla isn't a car company that uses AI as a tool. The entire company is structured to function as an AI. It's a single embodied intelligence that senses the world through its products, processes that information, and improves itself at machine speed. And this chart really just says it all. This shows the competitive moat this system creates. Data is the fuel for this AI, and as you can see, Tesla has a decade-plus head start. That bar represents a mountain of perfect production data that competitors are only just now starting to collect. You can't just go out and buy this data. It has to be earned over time. This creates a compounding advantage that just might be impossible to overcome. And that leaves us with this final thought. We're used to companies competing based on human decisions, quarterly reports and 5-year plans. But if one company is effectively a single self-improving artificial intelligence, operating at a speed and a scale that's beyond human comprehension, how can anyone else even hope to compete in that game? It's a question that could redefine what a company can even be.